Welcome back with another banger. It's the React Files. Hope you're having a good night. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So let's get straight to it.
The House of the Red Dragon is falling. We've all seen this portrait of King Charles. Even he was startled when they unveiled it. And this is an incredibly startling picture. But notice how I said the fall of the Red Dragon Order. Let me explain to you why this painting is red. So King Charles, or Queen Elizabeth's ancestral line, is actually tied to Vlad the Impaler of Romania. But not only this, the Tudors of England claim that they were descendants of those princes, including the dragon as their family crest, specifically a red dragon, hence the red painting. Now, Vlad Dracula the Impaler of current-day Romania was inducted into the Order of the Dragon, and it's also a red dragon. This is the crest of the Order of the Dragon, hence why it's red. Now, why do I bring up this mythical creature, the dragon? Why are the ancients so obsessed with the dragon? Dragons are actually not as mythical as you think. They are primordial energies. They are creator gods, creators of cosmos, universes. These ancients were stupid. They knew what these gods were, these dragons were. And it's not just England that speaks of a red dragon. In China, especially where I'm from a small island in China off the East Coast, the people here worship a golden dragon, which represents Christ consciousness. And in the ancient Americas, they worshipped Quetzalcoatl, which is like a rainbow dragon. Now, the Order of the Red Dragon has fallen. Now, I'm not saying all dragons are evil. Every dragon has a different representative of its energy. Now, unfortunately, the red dragon has been tied to control, hedonism, envy, lust, all the satanic roots. Now its bloodline is falling, and we can tell it's falling because they're trying their hardest, their absolute damn hardest, to grasp onto the final little straws that are available to them. But we as humanity are now going into the age of Aquarius, which is supposed to be the age of Christ consciousness. The red dragon has fallen, but the golden dragon will rise. The golden dragon, or the Christ consciousness dragon, is also responsible for the teachings of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua. A lot of us also have dragons as spirit guides. I know mine is definitely the golden Christ dragon, because I was literally born in the sacred place that it is worshipped in. But you could have a spirit guide of also a blue dragon, a red dragon. There's so many different types of dragons, a white dragon. Not only did the English believe that the royalty descended from dragons, so did the royals of China. Again, these ancients are not stupid. Humanity has a close tie to the dragon energy. If you wish to learn more about primordial gods, the creation of Earth, how we were trapped into this matrix by the fallen angelics, how we can ascend to Christ consciousness, my book, Made in God's Image, is linked in my bio. I go in depth about everything you need to know that I cannot say here on TikTok because I will get banned.
Very interesting stuff. The House of the Red Dragon is falling for real. Shout outs to Key.Guidance. Very informative right there.
I'm about to share with
Beauvais Island is considered one of the most isolated islands in the world, lying over 1,056 miles away from any mainland. Curiously, although the island is geographically close to Antarctica, it is under Norwegian sovereignty. French explorers first stumbled upon Beauvais Island in 1739. Due to early cartographic errors, British explorers did not rediscover the island until 1808. Initially, Britain claimed sovereignty, but Norwegian explorer Harold Horntvedt firmly planted the Norwegian flag on the island, asserting Norway's ownership. From then on, the island was officially named Beauvais Island. Norway claims an exclusive economic zone of over 170 square miles around the island. In 1964, an abandoned lifeboat was discovered on Beauvais Island, yet a subsequent survey found no trace of any visitors, adding to the island's mystery. If you're planning a visit to this remote outpost, you must first travel to South Africa, then secure a sturdy vessel to cross the Atlantic Ocean. As Beauvais Island is covered in thick glaciers, arrival typically requires a helicopter landing. This entire process makes a trip to Beauvais Island a true adventure.
Very interesting. Shout outs to Glam Ham Radio for pointing out the significance of Beauvais Island, which is actually owned by the Norwegians. Yeah, as soon as she mentioned it, I had to figure it out for myself real quick. So, Seems like this is where the anomaly is coming from. just a boat ride away from South Africa.
I know I can't be the only one who's getting all of these videos about the weather anomaly that's been occurring off of Bouvet Island since April. There's a lot of theories about what's going on here. There's theories everywhere between it being just a frequency weapon, or perhaps because the island has volcanic activity that has something to do with it. And regardless of what your theory is about what is actually happening there, this is what bothers me. The island is uninhabitable, but it's a tax haven. In the 2019 data, some 2.5 million Australian dollars were apparently held in 12 accounts owned by tax residents of Bouvet, a storm-lash, uninhabited sub-Antarctic volcano which belongs to Norway. Britain also once had a rival to it, although why anyone would want something is of a mystery, and holds the rare distinction of being one of the most remote islands in the world. This article goes on to talk about other anomalous data in the Southern Ocean. Now, this is about the McDonald Islands, but apparently they're just a group of rocks. An account reported as belonging to Antarctica means the account is held by a financial institution in Australia, but the account holder has indicated they are a tax resident in Antarctica. More anomalous data. 336 accounts in a Pacific Island group with a population of 50. Take note. Almost all of these anomalies had vanished by the time the 2020 data was reported. And also, it's not surprising that the largest totals in the Australian banks belong to residents of the largest economies: the United States, China, the United Kingdom, and Germany. This is weird.
Shout outs to Old Cow. Yo, she did some digging, and look what she found. She found some bank accounts. You know what they say? Follow the money.
Yeah, I tell you, ever since the solar eclipse, you heard the snarl? Yeah, I heard the snarl? Bro, what is going on? Ever since the solar eclipse, it's like something has, it's like portals have opened, y'all. Like people have been seeing these dark entities. I showed y'all this the other day. Cause ain't no way this is normal, y'all. Ain't no way this is normal. You know what? Cause think about it, y'all. We're at the end of the shift, the end of the age. They told us about it, you know, zombie apocalypse, Call of Duty, all these games that reference zombies, all these movies that reference zombies, y'all. They're telling us what's happening to these people, y'all. So, wow, yeah, literally like a zombie, man. Like, would this be considered like a glitch in the Matrix? Like, consciously speaking, spiritually speaking, would this be like a glitch? Because that's like someone like hijacking your body at that point, or something, some entity hijacking your body. Like, consciously think about it. That's like something fighting within you. That's something fighting within you. Now again, I'm just putting two and two together because like they're putting these things, they put these truths in these movies and these TV shows they told us about, and these video games. That's why they get people ready, you know. Call of Duty is very popular, Modern Warfare, all these shooting games, they're telling us what's happening. But then again, it could just all be for speculation, it's for entertainment, you know what I'm saying? And this video is strictly for entertainment purposes only. I'm only raising awareness to interesting situations during these interesting times. So let me know what you guys think about this video. That was New York, by the way. Like, comment, and share for more videos like this. Thank you for tuning to my frequency. Let's get this shift, y'all. Peace out.
Shout out to Conscious Juice. Yeah, it looked like money was high. Like he was on the bath salts or something. That flaca. But man, he ain't lying. Definitely was a demon possession because of, you know, zombies got that thirst for blood and whatnot. So, not a zombie, but close enough.
What is gravity? Stunned silence.
Any order?
No, just jump in, please.
I wish we really know. So, I mean, we can certainly, it's easy enough to describe properties of gravity. It's easy enough to describe theories of gravity. We've had two marvelous theories. But what is, for somebody like me, raises the question marks and not the answers that we already know. So, in a deep sense, we don't think we know the answer to that because of some of the things we'll be probably discussing later. But in a practical sense, if I want to send a moon, if I want to send a rocket to the moon, we know precisely what is gravity. Or, by the way, if I want to calculate the ripples, the waves that might move the arms of LIGO by a fraction of the size of the proton, I can also calculate that. So we have a pretty good practical understanding of gravity, but conceptually, I don't know.
Right. That's one of the ideas I wanted to introduce to the audience, is that this thing that we take for granted, that we live with, that we don't even think about, except when it's in headlines, is something that we don't really know what it is. And Kip Thorne's answer was, it's a meaningless question. But
there's people walking around out here that are soulless avatars simply operating on matrix programming. They're living, but they're not alive. And they're all around us. They're all over the place. People that have never woken up to who they truly actually are. They simply are operating on the code that they've been programmed and given since they were born, since they were even in the womb and at gestation. The same code, just running on programming, never exceeding the programming, never reprogramming the programming, never editing it, never hacking themselves, just running on the pure code and living a complete lie, believing that they're alive, but they're not. Powerful stuff. I hope y'all pay attention here. I hope y'all, if you're able to wrap your mind around what I'm talking about tonight, if you can wrap your mind around this, let me see you in the chat. Let me see you guys in the chat. Let me make sure you guys are still paying attention. You guys ain't sleeping out there. This is deep stuff, man. This is some real deep stuff.
It's called NPC, non-playable characters. They're the ones in GTA that be standing on the side of the road, you know, doing random stuff. Yeah, those are the NPCs.
Earth is undergoing a cyclical magnetic pole shift, a geomagnetic excursion. This is an extinction event for many species every cycle, and we're going to go over the basics here for those new to the topic and exactly why it is such a scary thing for our planet. It has been well known that the magnetic field is weakening and the magnetic poles are shifting. These happen regularly on a cycle. That cycle is due again right now, and we are already seeing the exact signs. In the year 2000, NASA and geophysicists said we were down in the field by 10%, and the ESA's magnetic mission updated that number to 15% in 2010, and said that we had gone from losing 5% of our planet's field per century to 5% per decade. Let's see what that looks like visually, with the 2020 mark another 5% down, and the 2023 interpolated value when the latest acceleration occurred. The first 10% took 150 years to lose, the next 10% only 20 years. After the latest acceleration, we could be losing as much as 5% every 5 years. I plotted the most likely curve here, showing that around 2040 we will have the full flip, the excursion. And it may be a few years before or after that, but this is as accurate as it can be. The purple line you see there shows when we expect to be 50% down, in the early 2030s, when it will be at a level that makes our technological way of life unsustainable, and when its impact on weather will be very extreme. Yesterday we shared the critical new chapter out of a new university textbook, hitting the topic of space radiation and extinctions, and the two things it mentions are of critical importance for us over the coming years: the ozone loss due to particle-driven molecular destruction, and the extra exposure to cosmic ray space radiation, basically climate chaos and radiation exposure. This is because the only thing standing in the way of those effects is the magnetic field of Earth, the one that is weakening in this ongoing pole shift. To compare, here is a side-by-side of the normal and excursion or pole shift magnetic field. On the left, the strong field protection in bright colors in polar configuration, but on the right, we see the poles are actually near the equator, and the brighter colors are gone, leaving us more vulnerable to that dangerous space radiation. After 2 decades of scientific disagreement, the naysayers have now disappeared. Every major study on this topic in the last several years shows that these magnetic reversals, these pole shifts, are extreme events for the environment. They take a huge toll on the biosphere, and that is usually due to the extra radiation and ozone destruction-driven climate chaos. The best such paper, directly tied those extinctions to past pole shifts in history, and they offer us a warning for the future. These, by the way, are the top scientists in the field in the world's #1 geophysics journal. Now, the aurora are beautiful, no doubt, but they have been offering us a warning lately, breaking records, appearing too often, and with less than expected solar activity. They're already having measurable effects on the ozone and on the environment as a whole. There are hundreds of studies confirming the ozone destruction by solar protons, solar electrons, and cosmic rays, all of which are penetrating into the atmosphere more with the weakening field and will reach critical levels in the years ahead. This extra radiation does two main things. Its ozone destruction allows more ultraviolet light into the Earth's system, causing more heat, and the extra cosmic rays amplify the extremes of weather of all kinds: heat, cold, wind, lightning, storms, flooding, drought, basically taking Earth's weather and pushing it to the max in all directions. These things not only impact the climate, but living creatures. That extra ultraviolet light is dangerous for animals and plants, as well as the microbiota of the planet, including the plankton and chlorophyll food chain foundations in the ocean. The cosmic rays provide a similar amplification of particle radiation on this same life as well. Everything from cancer to cellular dysfunction to DNA mutations. Furthermore, the magnetic field of Earth usually funnels much of this particle radiation to the polar region, where virtually nobody lives and far less life exists. But in the excursion scenario, those polar cusps are found at lower latitudes, and an extra directing of that energy and radiation will hit the life-housing regions of the Earth, while at the same time, the field is also less able to block the pushing of Van Allen belt electrons downward into the atmosphere during solar storm impact. It's a double whammy for the latitudes where most of the life on Earth is found. So why do these scientists keep finding extinction and major biosphere stress related to the magnetic pole shifts? It's because of those climate impacts and both the extra ultraviolet and particle radiation. Taking extra radiation when your environment shifts dramatically is a serious challenge for most life. But it gets worse. It's not just birds that use the magnetic field for navigation, but many other creatures as well, including several marine species like dolphins, whales, sharks, turtles, and various fish. And it's not just for migration, but foraging and finding reproductive zones. Similar impacts are found for insects in terms of hibernation, egg success, and activity in the day versus night. And even plants use Earth's field. It's critical for germination, seed health, growth, and flowering. So let's make that climate chaos, extra radiation, and navigational struggles, not to mention the problems with the plants. This is why the scientists are able to so clearly see that these cyclical magnetic pole shifts are major problems for life on Earth. As humans deal with these challenges, both directly and indirectly through their impact on the food chain, we have also made ourselves largely dependent on electricity as a society. When the magnetic field gets weak enough, the sun is going to turn off the lights, destroy every power grid, and when that happens, there's no more heat, no more water treatment or distribution, no refrigeration or food transport, no gas, no ATMs, no phones or internet, no 911, no critical infrastructure at all. This is a growing issue, and it's on Earth's bingo card for the years ahead. In just the last year, things have taken an even more alarming turn. The March 2023 magnetic anomaly has accelerated this process even faster. We're on the way down much quicker now, which is what we're seeing with the accelerated downward curve in this chart. It is the reason why a minor solar event in April of 2023 caused an unprecedented and new kind of plasma penetration solar storm effect. It is the reason why 2023 broke the low-latitude auroral record, and it is the reason why we got impossibly low-latitude auroras this past weekend from solar activity that was significant, but it wasn't extreme. In the past, these kinds of aurora only happened with solar activity that was 20 to 50 times stronger than what we got. It happened this week because our planet is losing its protection and becoming more vulnerable. If you think you are ready to learn more about this cycle, the details of why it happens, and what it will eventually make the sun do, see the resource video linked below. If you understood this video, you're probably ready for the advanced information. Subscribe and I'll see you in the morning for the daily update.
Shoutouts to Ben Davidson and Suspicious Observers, giving us the game on what's going on with this magnetic pole shift. Very great information right there. Something definitely to look into.
So one day, this woman goes for a jog around her neighborhood, when suddenly, bam, an SUV pulls up out of nowhere and two women get out. And they both have pew-pews, and they grab her and they force her into the SUV. And the SUV speeds away. Now the woman who was kidnapped, she's a normal suburban mom. Her name's Sherry. And on that day, Sherry doesn't show up to pick up her kids after school. And her husband, this guy, Keith gets worried and he starts freaking out. And he calls the police and then boom, a search gets underway. And suddenly everyone's looking for Sherry. And this story is all over the media. And they announce a reward for any information about her disappearance. Someone sets up a GoFundMe to help with the search and it raises over $50,000. But unfortunately, weeks pass and no one has heard anything. And there's no sign of what might have happened to her. Until 22 days go by, and it's 4 a.m., and a woman driving along the highway, she spots a disheveled person on the side of the road. So she calls police. So police come, and they find it's Sherry, there on the side of the highway, and she looks terrible. She's seriously beaten up, she's starved down to 87 pounds, all her hair is chopped off, and strangely, she has a Bible verse branded on her shoulder blade. And of course, police know exactly who she is. They know she's been missing, it's been all over the news. So they bring her in and they question her a few times, trying to figure out exactly what the hell happened to her during those 22 days. But Sherry, she's being really odd about the whole thing. She's not telling them a lot. But after a few sessions with her, she eventually gives them this story. She says that day she was out jogging, two Latina ladies pulled up in an SUV, and they held her at gunpoint, and they put her in the SUV, and they drove her to some shady location, and there they chained her up. Now from this story, police get enough of a description of the kidnappers to draw these two sketches. But unfortunately, their faces are covered, so the drawings aren't much help. But police hear this story, and they keep wondering, why the hell did the kidnappers burn a Bible verse into her skin? And so Sherry tells them something, but she keeps changing the details of the story. And it's especially weird because this Bible verse basically says anyone who kidnaps someone else should be put to death, which seems like a weird thing for actual kidnappers to burn into someone's back. So of course, by this point, police are suspicious of this whole thing. So they do DNA testing on Sherry's clothes from when she was taken. And the tests show that there's male DNA on the underwear she was wearing. But it sucks because that DNA doesn't match with anyone in their criminal database. Double until. At this point, about 4 years have passed since she was abducted. But then, out of nowhere, pow, their DNA finally links with someone in their database. And basically the results show that while they can't find a match for this DNA, they did find that it's close to someone else's DNA in the database, meaning that it's probably their relative. So they investigate and they find that this relative is related to this guy, James. And James just happens to be Sherry's ex-boyfriend. So police find James and they confront him, and he quickly crumbles and he tells police that basically Sherry must have kidnapped herself. So here's what really happened. Sherry goes to the jogging track that day, and she randomly calls James to come pick her up. And when he does, she leaves her phone and her earpods there where she was jogging, so it will look like someone abducted her. James then drives Sherry 9 hours away to his place to live with him. There, she starves herself to lose a bunch of weight, she cuts off all her hair, she beats herself up, and she has James brand a Bible verse on her shoulder blade for some reason. Allegedly, Sherry was just tired of her suburban life, or maybe she just wanted attention. It isn't actually entirely clear why she faked her own kidnapping. But after 22 days of living there with James, she decides she's done with this whole plot, and that kidnapping herself was a terrible idea. So she suddenly asks James to drive her roughly 9 hours back near her home in Northern California and drop her off on the side of the highway. And that is where the police found her. But here's the craziest part. According to James, he wasn't even in on the whole scam. He He had no idea she was faking her own kidnapping. Allegedly, when she called him to come pick her up that day, he thought she wanted to be with him and that she was just running away from her family and her abusive husband. Which, by the way, it turns out her husband Keith was never abusive. She made that up too. So anyway, police arrest Sherry. I don't have a mugshot, but here's what she looks like in real life. And also, here's what James looks like in real life. Ugh. And so Sherry goes to court, she pleads guilty to all this, and she's sentenced to 18 months in prison, and she's ordered to pay back all the money her hoax cost the state, which is around $300,000. While James wasn't charged with any crime at all. Also, 2 days after she pled guilty, her husband Keith filed for divorce. Good for him. Shout out to California.
And that's a wrap. Hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. Want to give a special shout out to Jessica B. Appreciate you, Jessica. Thank you so much for your support. Peace and blessings. If you haven't already, please take a second
just to smash that like, subscribe, ring that notification bell,
just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do, y'all? That's right. Run these numbers up. Thanks again. Until next time.